All right, day 26, of learning game dev from scratch. Today was game development fundamentals again. Today we studied difficulty curves. So there's a few different types of difficulty curves, and then there's nuances within those curves. So there's linear, which is just a pretty straight line. There's exponential, which does this sort of like it starts slow and then ramps up very quickly. And then there's a slope, which does a consistent line, sort of like linear. Well, it sort of starts exponential and then levels out. At least that's as far as I researched into. So I'm trying to think of what's the ideal difficulty curve. Well, for me, the most addicting ones are games like Terraria. So for Terraria, what is interesting about that is the difficulty is actually player driven. You can choose to stay in the center forever. I mean, the only thing you'd have to deal with is Eye of Cthulhu, really. But the further you go from center, the more difficult things get. But also, your higher chance of finding things that allow you to change, uh, ease that difficulty. So you can't find gold chest items unless you dig down to find gold chests. You can't find giant tree items unless you go left or right and try to find those giant hollow trees that I for some reason can't remember the biome for. You won't find the desert temple unless you go to the desert. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then also, not to mention how the difficulty spikes after certain bosses, like not Eye of Cthulhu, but a Wall of Flesh versus the mech bosses, things that when you defeat the boss, something happens in the world that increases the difficulty overall. I think that creates a pretty addicting difficulty curve. The only problem is that as soon as you hit the end, it kind of instantly drops off. So how do we prevent that, right? That's something I'm going to have to give more thought to.